As Donald Trump intensifies his global trade war, the UK just faced crushing tariffs, and Keir Starmer is. Despite the Prime Minister's recent trip to Washington and a direct appeal to US President Trump, Trump refused to back down and imposed a hefty 25% tax on British steel and aluminum exports, leaving UK companies to brace for the fallout. Downing Street maintains that a calm approach will be taken, but is Starmer being overly dramatic? While the EU responds with retaliatory actions in today's video, we will dissect the UK government's hesitation, which has sparked criticism from opposition MPs and business leaders alike. For more, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Just a quick note to let you know that we have new Liberty shirts available on our website. You can visit British.com or click the link in the description. U.S. President Donald Trump has imposed a 25% tariff on global imports of steel and aluminum, drawing the UK into his trade war. In an attempt to preserve solid diplomatic and business connections, the Prime Minister personally invited Keir Starmer to a state visit during his recent visit to the White House. According to Downing Street sources, the UK will approach a possible trade issue calmly, avoiding rapid retribution and working behind the scenes to obtain concessions for British industry. You won't receive counter-tariffs right away. According to the Financial Times, a government source told reporters that while Starmer's administration wants to prevent tensions from getting worse unnecessarily, pressure is growing from the UK's manufacturing sector and opposition parties for the government to adopt a tougher stance on a phone call with the US president. Starmer's efforts are similar to those of previous prime ministers who have tried to secure favorable trade terms with the US, but Trump's aggressive protectionist policies have frequently left allies disappointed. Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds expressed his frustration, calling Trump's decision disappointing and warning that it would have a significant impact on British businesses. We are focused on a pragmatic approach and are swiftly negotiating a wider economic agreement with the US to eliminate additional tariffs and to benefit UK businesses and our economy. Reynolds insisted that all options remain on the table, but he did not confirm whether the UK would produce countermeasures similar to those announced by the European Union. According to Reynolds, we are still steadfast in our support of UK industry. The government is currently assisting impacted businesses, and the IB supports the industry's proposal to the Trade Remedies Authority to look into what other measures could be required to safeguard tech UK producers. According to EU estimates, the latest round of tariffs will harm roughly £22 billion of European exports, with the UK's steel and aluminum industries among those most severely impacted. The impact of Trump's tariffs is anticipated to be substantial. President Trump must acknowledge that the UK is an ally, not an enemy, as stated by Gareth Stace, Director General of the trade association UK Steel, who blasted the move as extremely disappointing and warned that it could have disastrous effects on the industry. He added that our steel sector is not a threat to the US but rather a partner to important customers who share the same values and objectives in addressing global overcapacity and tackling unfair trade. These tariffs couldn't have come at a worse time for the UK steel industry as we fight with high energy costs and decreased domestic demand against an oversupplied and increasingly protectionist market. 9-block global landscape. Similar worries were expressed by the chief executive of the Aluminium Federation, who said that Trump's tariffs are already having their initial effects on the UK aluminium industry. The UK's recycling capacity is weakened, and there is a risk that this could undermine our sustainability goals and circular economy, as the sudden increase in US premiums has led to new incentives for scrap exports and increased the likelihood of large domestic scrap leakage blocks. The government believes that 5% of UK steel exports and 6% of aluminum exports by volume go to the US. However, the Aluminium Industry Association has noted that 10% of all UK aluminium exports, or about 225 million per year, go to the US market. There is hope that comparable exclusions could be obtained for the UK, but Trump's tough tariff policy has already sent shockwaves across global markets, with past disagreements involving Canada and Mexico leading to partial reversals of the duties after tea negotiations. Trump's trade policies are unpredictable, therefore there is little assurance. Conservative Shadow Chancellor Jeremy Hunt and other opposition figures have urged Starmer's administration to respond to the levies with more vigor. Hunt urged the Prime Minister to support British industry and demand quick assistance, criticising what he called a weak approach. The Biden administration is anticipated to closely observe from the sidelines as Starmer's government navigates its first significant economic crisis, making the scenario a critical test. If the UK will be driven into an economic standoff with its closest allies or be able to find a solution ally will continue to appear in news reports. Unrestricted speech proponents caution that the destiny of free expression could be determined by an amendment that is put to a vote in the House of Commons. The amendment relates to Clause 18 of the Employment Rights Bill, which Labour introduced last year with the intention of expanding workers' rights. This clause goes beyond the Worker Protection Amendment of the Equality Act 2010 Act 2023, which only required taking reasonable steps to prevent sexual harassment by third parties without offering a standalone claim for such harassment. The amendment is applicable to beaches and pubs across the nation. This is expanded by Clause 18 to include harassment pertaining to any pertinent protected characteristics, not simply sexual harassment, with the exception of pregnancy, maternity, and marital civil partnerships. According to Labour, this will deal with instances where workers, especially those in customer-facing positions like retail, hospitality or healthcare, are harassed by third parties by insulting comments or actions that are overheard or aimed at them. Free speech advocates like the Free Speech Union FSU argue that in order to avoid liability, the new legislation may require employers to monitor light-hearted remarks or jokes made by clients. This worry has been expressed by the Equality and Human Rights Commission, (ERC), which also noted that it would disproportionately restrict freedom of expression. Pubs that act as gathering places for uncensored discourse will be targeted. According to critics, they depict the following situation. You and your friends are having a great time over a few beers in a tavern. When the waiter overhears your chat, he becomes enraged and reports to his employer, who dismisses it. A few weeks later, the same boss is brought before a committee to answer for your mistake. The ERC adds that Labour's proposed workers' rights changes might ultimately force publicans to forbid patrons from talking about contentious issues like religion and transgender rights. This could put the last nail in the coffin and restrict free speech. For the crossbow and knife killings of his ex-partner Louise Hunt, her sister Hannah Hunt, and her mother Carol Hunt, Kyle Cliff will be given a whole life order at Cambridge Crown Court. The sentencing judge stated that Clifford refused to appear in court and face her family, declining to impose restraints because of the killer's disability. According to Justice Benthan, the triple murderer attacked his ex-girlfriend and her family with deadly intent. Based on what I've heard, you are a self-pitying, jealous man who treats women with complete disdain. Benthan chose to begin his address with the sentence, even though judges usually do it at the conclusion of their statements. I therefore make it clear at once that for each of these 3 murders, the sentence will be one of life imprisonment with a whole life order, meaning that you will never be released. He told the court, this is no occasion to subject family and friends of your victims to any delay or suspense. Following Clifford's sentencing, John Hunt, the husband of Carol and father of Hannah and Louise, gave his surviving daughter Amy a hug. The incident took place on July 9 last year, just 13 days after Louise had ended their relationship. The 26-year-old previously pleaded guilty to murdering his former girlfriend Louise and her mother Carol and her sister Hannah at their home in Bushey, Hertfordshire on Thursday. The former soldier was found guilty of rape following a 4-day trial. He became the subject of a manhunt for hours following the murders, until he was eventually found injured in a North London cemetery after he shot himself in the chest with the crossbow. Clifford became paralyzed from the chest down, Benthan said, forcing him to attend the trial and potentially disrupting it was simply not appropriate or suitable. Referring to Clifford's absence in court, John told the court in a victim impact statement, I so wish to deliver these words eye to eye, Kyle, and I'll continue to do so as if I was doing that. The screams of hell, Kyle. I can hear them faintly now. They're going to roll the red carpet out for you, Amy also directed. Her words at the killer telling the court Kyle plainly the Hunt family are human and you are not. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care. Goodbye.